all have shared great things. I think we all know what we want to see in a leader, but it's oftentimes when you're in that position, you can hear those things and you go, oh yeah, I should be doing that. Oh yeah, I should probably do that. And it's sometimes the most practical things that someone has to just remind you of, and you go, yeah, I should include that. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on, the practical things that we can do to improve just being a better worship leader, better worship pastor, and just improve us overall as people who disciple for Christ. Let's get right to it. The best ways I feel to practically improve your worship team is 3 things. 1, ask yourself questions. 2, set goals. 3, lean on God. I feel like I'm going to say that again because you guys look responsible when you're writing notes. 1, ask yourself questions. 2, set goals. 3, lean on God. So as far as ask yourself questions, what do I mean by that? I think the best way to say that is you don't know where you want to be until you ask yourself the questions of where am I trying to take this thing? So the type of questions I'm talking about, how are you discipling your worship team? And how are you discipling your congregation? That's a good place to just start. It's the overall. So then you go, okay, what is discipleship? How am I mentoring? What am I expected to do? Am I full-time? Am I part-time? How much time am I supposed to pour into these people's lives? That's where these questions start to lead. And the more that you're able to answer those questions, the more you're able to practically improve your team. I think an example of how I'm discipling and mentoring, one is I make it a point to try to at least, 2 or 3 times a month, meet with someone over coffee or food. I don't know if you do it more or less, but there's a lot of work to be done. But at least 2-3 times meet with someone and just talk with them, see how life is going, see what how their walk is going, and just kind of just fill them out. And oftentimes you'll start hearing about maybe problems you didn't know that were going on. I know, for example, I had a keyboard player who felt stifled in his creativity because I was requiring that we simply stuck with our Nord sounds instead of using Sunday keys. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the different patches, things like that. And don't get me wrong, Sunday keys is great. I'm not knocking it. If they see this, hey, I love Sunday keys. I'm down for a sponsorship. But the thing is, when you are organizing a whole bunch of people, you want to know what sounds are coming out, how they're supposed to sound. You don't want to hear some small wah chord and you're like, yo, that's not what was supposed to come out right here. But I had to also listen to when they were telling me that they felt stifled in their creativity. And I had to ask myself, all right, am I stifling them? Is this something that I need to be like, no, this is your own heart issue and you need to let that go? Or is there something I can do to compromise and figure it out? So just off top, those are the type of questions that you need to be able to answer. Just to let you know how that went, I let them know that, no, I don't want to stifle your creativity. And so my personal rule is play what you want, just don't step on anybody, and make it make sense to the song. So you can play what you want, but we're going to ask for these patches and these sounds because specifically I'm hard on my keyboardists because I play a little keyboard. And I want them to be ready with the pad and the strings because that's just what I want because I'm in charge of Michael Jordan. See, I don't punch them hard. But yeah, so that was where our compromise went. But they felt heard. They felt that I cared, and they were reinvested into the team. And I saw a vigor and a focus that came back. And I realized, if I wouldn't have had this conversation, I wonder where they would have been in another 3 months, another 6 months, Well, they've been one of those people that declined a couple times, and the next thing you know, you don't know where they're at. So meetings over food, coffee, make a budget. Dave Ramsey can help you guys with that. If you find your church will help you, but if not, like small coffees. Worship team Bible studies. That's another way that I help disciple and mentor my team. How many of you guys like study together as a team or read books together, anything like that? Raise your hands high. Shame everyone else. All right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's something to think about right there. Now, that's not to say that you have to do it to be a good team. You have to study together because your church may have an infrastructure that kind of has that covered. You know, I've heard one worship pastor his argument was that they don't do anything additional because it kind of puts too much stress on the team, and they feel like they have to be part of life groups and the worship team life group. And I totally get that. I can see where they're coming from. But I think that you need to have a strong discipleship or life group type situation in your church. But if you don't, or you guys are working towards that, I think it would be wise to start something with your team. And the reason why is because your teams are leaders. They're on stage, they're on the mic. They need to know what they're talking about. This mic is loud. And you may have that one person who, how do I describe it? They may sound really good, but they're talking nonsense. And we've all seen that person. And you've seen the group where they say something crazy and people are like, oh yeah. And you're sitting there like, what? Are you guys, you like this? You know? Well, imagine if that person had a microphone and was doing it with the pads in the back and everybody was already sensitive with the soft heart ready to take in whatever they had to say. You have to guard that. Yeah. And one of the ways you can guard that is by discipling them through worship Bible study. So they can say that nonsense in front of you. And you can go, hey, I need to be Michael Jordan. No, don't please. All right, that's the last time I'm gonna use that. Please don't punch anybody. I don't want that to go viral. It's a worship leader. He said body slam. Let me see. More questions I would ask. I would ask them about their musical goals. I'd ask them about what musical achievements do they want to grow in. Now, we know worship doesn't mean music, but in the context of what we're speaking about here, we're speaking probably a little more specifically to music. And so I think that just for clarity for me, I don't hold auditions. If you want to be on the team, you're on the team. And I know a lot of people go, what? And I go, but if you look at worship team as discipleship, just because you're on the team doesn't mean that you're on the stage. And I get to work with you until we feel like you're ready, either to sing, play, or something like that. Because what if somebody has a true passion and desire, they just can't afford the lessons. They can't afford the instrument. I mean, sometimes you don't get to know that until you build that relationship and you're hanging out with them and you go, okay, well, let's work on this and walk with you through this. That takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, but it's one of the practical answers. Sometimes we're all, especially, Portland, we're all looking for drummers. We're all looking for, are you playing good guitar? We're looking for all of that. Well, imagine if you had a 5-year plan with somebody, some 17-year-old who wanted to play. I can't do math, but imagine 5 years plus 17, where they'd be. You know what I mean? What if it was a 40-year-old single mom who was like, I've always wanted to play bass. You go, okay, why smirk at that? Why not say, okay, well, let's develop you into that if you truly have a passion for it. Because if anyone else came to church and said, I feel that the Lord wants me to go to the mission field. You wouldn't say, okay, let's put you in the mission field next week. You say, okay, well, let's sit down, let's work on this, and let's develop it. It's no different in worship. That's where the real work is. So that leads us into like I said, the questions that we need to start asking. Another way that I disciple and mentor my congregation, just like I do my team, is I talk about like song selection. And I have to ask myself questions. All right, why am I picking this song? Is it because I like this song? Is it because I know if I sing the song, they'll be smiling at me because they're happy because we finally did praise and they've seen all the other churches do it and we still haven't done it? That might be a personal thing. You guys know. Why are you doing the song? And I think one of the things that, Bob Kaufman said in his book, Worship Matters, he was like, let me see, I wrote it down, don't guess. He said, if a religion that rejects Christ can sing your songs without conviction, should you still sing those songs? And so those are the types of things that I have to ask myself, is it worth it to sing the song? Is it worth it to take the time to have that awkward time of, okay, they don't quite know it. Okay, we're going to clap, we're going to sing it. I'm pointing at you, I'm smiling, they're going, So, is it worth all that time? I know for me, what's valuable to me is I want to make sure that the congregation, if they sing that song, they know the gospel when they're done singing that song. If they need to answer a question, they can almost refer back to the song and go, oh no, this is the answer and this is why, in simple steps. I always remember my grandfather, he sung this song called Justified by Faith. And the words were, justified by faith, standing in his presence, sanctified and holy, flawless and pure. Now when God looks at me, he looks at me through Jesus. I'm so glad in Jesus I'm justified by faith. Well, at 8 years old, I didn't realize how clear of a picture of justification I had. I just knew the song, Now, I'm not going to pick on any other songs and ask you what they taught you, but my daughter sings this one song that she really likes, and she sounds good, but I don't really know what she knows, because it doesn't really say anything. And so, that's more of my challenge to you. Ask yourself those questions. Do you need to curate your song list and add some, I like to call it, add more vegetables to your song list? That's probably a good way to look at it. Are you serving your church all beige food? A lot of you moms know what I'm talking about. Are you serving your church beige food? Is it all French fries, nuggets, waffles, pancakes? Babies love it, but what do they need to eat? All right, so I'm going to ask you guys one more question. Well, one of a few questions. And you're going to turn to your same partners again. What practical questions are you asking about your team or congregation right now? And how can that issue improve or regress your team? So I'll give you guys another 90 seconds. I'll ask it again. What practical questions are you asking about your team or congregation right now? How can that issue improve or regress your team? All right, 90 seconds to talk to people next to you. Okay, guys, it looks like this was a good question. So, just real quick, questions. Did you bring up anything, you and your small group?
Yeah, we brought up how we could ask a little more questions about how songs relate to each other in this set, and how they build the overall worship.
Mm-hmm. No, it's definitely good. Because I found that if you have a nice theme, first off, other worship leaders, they come in, they go, I see what you did there. But don't focus on that. It's about Jesus. See how I just smiled? Don't do it. I'm sorry. And, but no, I think that's great. Right here.
question that we're asking is, how many new songs are we introducing? Are we introducing too many new songs at once? How that helps or hinders the congregation engagement?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I think it's easy because the band is on stage. You go, oh, we've done this song how many times, things like that. But what if you get that person who only comes once a month? They're like, oh, I finally learned this song 6 months in. So you got to think about those things too. But also, I found that when you find a song that speaks the truth about the gospel, the truth about love, the truth about who God is, you can sing that song every day, full out, and be like, it is still the good stuff. So that kind of says something too. If you're getting tired of a song, maybe that's it. That's all. So one was ask questions. Two was, let me make sure I say it the right way, set goals. What goals do you have for your ministry? That's something that's important to think about, because how are you going to be a leader and you don't know where you're leading people? Yes, we are all leading people to Christ. Yes, we're all leading people to be disciples. Yes, I get that. But what specifically are you doing? I like to use this analogy. Churches need to be in and out. And what I mean by that is you need to be in and out burger. And I'm not just saying that because I'm from LA, home of the champions. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that because people line up around the block. People don't want In and Out to move to their block because the traffic will be too bad. To buy a hamburger, which is very simple. And they go, I'm about to mix it up. Let me get 2 patties. Oh, what? This is crazy. That's what they sell a burger. That menu is small. They use really big font because it's not much to say. But yet, why do people line up? Because they know how to do that one thing really good. They focus on that one goal of selling you a great hamburger. Is that your worship team? Or are you Cheesecake Factory? Have you seen Cheesecake Factory's menu? It's this thick. And you don't even go to Cheesecake Factory for cheesecake. I hope we're not messing up your video. So they're like, oh, cheesecake's never come to your church. I'm sorry, Red Hills. Just, please, Cheesecake Factory, go to Red Hills too. But yeah, you gotta focus on, I think I saw this on a YouTube video, which we don't know how accurate that means, but they said that every time a new restaurant moved on the block of Cheesecake Factory, they added whatever they did to the menu so that way people wouldn't leave Cheesecake Factory. Which sounds like a good idea in the beginning. But in the end, you start losing who you are. And now you're serving Italian, Mexican, Subway sandwiches, and cheesecake. And is that your church? Do you guys know what your mission, your vision is? Because if you don't, that's going to filter down to all the ministries. So then, who are you as a worship team? Who are you trying to reach out to? Who's your focus? Who are you looking for? So, In and Out. It's a Jesus organization. So it's Chick-fil-A. Jesus makes the best fast food. My personal goal with my worship team is I want to be able to send out leaders that can help local churches. And so knowing that's my goal, that's how I approach our rehearsals, that's how I approach our teaching, things like that. I want you to be able to replicate this and go out and lead someone's service. And so I'm often putting people in challenging positions, even though they may not quite be ready for it. But I go, it's okay. I'm not going to judge you for that. Let's run from that. Let's grow in that. So I think I've already expected that it won't always be the best quality. For a sacrifice of over time, they won't only be good, but they'll be able to lead others and teach others the same way. So I ask those questions. What do I want to do? What's my goal? well, my goal is that. So now I'm able to accept what I see on the stage. If someone's fumbling on the guitar, I go, it's okay, let's work on it, let's improve you, because we want to get there. I also have to be that example. Like I was telling them back there, November 10th, it's going to be my first time playing guitar on stage. It's not going to be good. But my team needs to see that it's not even going to be good for me. And they'll be like, well, if you can't play, I can do better than that. Schedule me more, I'm ready. Or maybe some of that congregation goes, wow, if he was willing to step up and do that, I should be willing to step up and do that, because I know I can do something that I haven't told anyone. And so, in me, like I said, setting that goal, it's created the culture of the team that I want to build. I'm still continuing to build that culture, but those are the type of things that you should focus on setting your goal. Also, my other goal is to have a lot of volunteers and not lean on paid musicians. Now, I don't know where you stand on that, paid musicians or not paid musicians. As you know, like I said, I come from LA. There are a lot of paid musicians, but those guys are like playing at the Grammys and in your church the next day. They want some gas money. Okay. That's where some people stand. Personally, why I am on people volunteering is because I'm trying to create more places for people to serve. My personal approach is I only want you to serve once a month on the worship team. That way, a second week out of the month, you can serve another service. And now you're serving twice a month, sitting down twice a month, but now 2 ministry type volunteers. That's my approach. And then also, if I need you to come in and give me another Sunday, it's easier for you to say, I can give you a second Sunday, instead of saying, I gotta give you a 4th Sunday. It creates a whole different dynamic. And I think you'll be surprised how much your team will grow, even though it'll feel difficult, like, wait a minute, I only have 2 drummers, and I'm only giving them 2 Sundays. Well, you'll be surprised how those drummers might multiply. Or if you're willing to set that goal, you get that new drummer who may not completely stay on the click, but in 4 years, he may be the one or she may be the ones teaching your new younger drummers, because you poured into them and they want to give that same service that you gave. Goals for my congregation. I think I've kind of been leaning into this already, but I want my congregation to have a clear understanding of what the gospel is in song. Now, I don't know what side you guys lean on this, but me personally, I'm not scared of theological words. I know some people go, oh, we don't want to use big words and scare off the visitors. And you hear some people who go, we're going to give you, 17 syllable words. My view on it is I'm not scared of the words. Because I remember I started taking jiu-jitsu, and they didn't say, oh, we're not going to, they just explained it to you. If you're like, hey, what does that mean? They go, oh, it means this. You go, thank you. And then I proceeded to get slammed. But I knew what the word was. And so I've kind of taken that approach, is make sure you're walking with someone so when they have questions, you can answer it. And, maybe a little conviction. Maybe the reason why they don't know the words because you don't have solid discipleship in your church to walk, or have someone walking with them so they can understand what they're learning. If you're always baby feeding them, they're always going to be babies. At some point, you got to at least go, all right, well, here's another 5 pounds on your bench press. You got to keep adding so that way they grow in maturity. Because your goal is to mature Christians. We're in a leadership position. And if any leader, we talked about leaders, if any leader had a group of people, and in 3 to 4 years, those group of people were the same people, what would you think about that leader? So you got to do something that's challenging them. So you got to have some kind of goal. Next question for you guys next to each other. Do you have a vision statement for your ministry? And if you don't, or if you do, what would be the first sentence you would start your vision statement with? You can kind of Flush through that. I'll ask you one more time. Do you have a vision statement for your ministry? And if you don't, what's the first sentence you would start it with? Go ahead. Ask each other. Okay, I hate to pull you guys out of that so quick, but we got to keep it moving. Really quickly, this vision statement. Any idea what you guys have? No? It's okay.
We're a growing church here.
Okay.
The church that I'm at, the plan is officially launching next year.
Okay.
We have a vision statement for the church, which is to bring introduce the great joy to all people. And I haven't thought yet about the worship team. But I like what we're talking about, just like discipleship. I feel like a lot of that is what is important to me on a team. You kind of creating a little small group. I don't know. I feel like we would merge that with what the church already aims to do.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think. Oh well, it's. That's why I talk about with goals, because with a vision statement, you always have a home base. When things start feeling crazy, and you're like, "What is going on?" Sometimes you just go back and you look and you go, "Oh, this is who we are, and this is what we're trying to achieve." And it makes you start looking and you go, "Okay. We need to cut this out. We need to cut this out. We need to cut this out and focus on the goal." We're trying to put bacon on these In-N-Out burgers. Right. I just, they don't need bacon. We didn't say we were going to be about bacon. So, I'm hungry. I don't know if you guys know this. I didn't have breakfast, so yeah. Right here. Mission statement, any thoughts you guys have on that? Yeah, just as a team.
I have one for our worship team. It's like when people want to truly worship.
Okay. See, there you go. Makes it easy. Give a raise. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I feel you. All right. So the last thing is, and then we'll be wrapping it up. The 3 ways were ask yourself questions, set goals, lean on God. It's interesting how when you make God or Jesus the answer, people go, well, yeah, of course, but what else? Stop doing that. You know what I mean? Jesus is always the answer. And I know it is a great joke to say that all the kids say, I know the answer is Jesus and all of that. Stop doing that. Stop. I'll say it again. Stop. Jesus is always the answer. And be proud of that. If a kid doesn't know the answer and say it's Jesus, you go, you are right. And on top of that, it's this. Don't reject Jesus. That's what you're doing. You're making it like, I'm not really doing that. But I'm saying, no. Always accept Jesus as your answer because he is the answer. He is the answer. How often are you praying with your team? I just let that one sit with you. How often are you, not just the opening prayer, which now, as I'm saying this, I'm convicted that I didn't even open up with a prayer. Goodness. Who am I? But how often are you praying with your team more than just the opening prayer? How often are you sitting with them saying, what are you going to do? Let's just pray and talk about that. How often, when it's getting tough in the middle of rehearsal and you guys aren't grasping a song, do you say, hey, let's stop, let's pray right now? Are you guys doing that? You don't have to raise your hands. Please don't. I remember the first time I did that with the team. There was a conflict and I could feel it. And I realized oh, wait. We're getting this is, oh my goodness, I'm blanking. I told you I was hungry. This is Palm Sunday. And I was like, oh, important thing to happen. Of course, God doesn't want this to, I'm not God. Of course, the devil doesn't want this to be positive and go well. I can feel it. Let's stop and let's pray. And we stopped and we prayed. And those two members ended up stepping down within the month, too, that were having a conflict in our rehearsal. At first, I don't want to say the word happy, but I was like, well, what? Press through, let's do this, let's do that. But I prayed that God's will would be done and that we'd be able to worship and focus on God. And two people stepped down. That goes against what I want as a leader. But when you're focusing on God's will and what He wants for your team, that may happen. You may end up getting stripped down. You're going, well, why am I just doing acoustic sets every week? Well, maybe that's what you need to do, because maybe you got a team that's not ready. Maybe you're trying to match what you're seeing around, and it's like, they're not ready for that. Only way you're going to really kind of start hearing that or getting those answers that, you got to start praying. You got to start having a stronger prayer life and praying with those around you. How often are you sharing? I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys are emailing worship team emails, things like that. Is it just information, or are you telling them what you've been studying throughout the week? Or are you even studying throughout the week? Here's a better question. What's the last thing you studied independently for yourself so you can learn more about God? What's that last thing you studied? Was it from yesterday? Was it a week ago? Was it a month ago? Or was it the last conference that you went to for worship? How are you going to grow a team if you're not studying, if you're not praying? We have an obligation to nurture those who are already believers, and we're supposed to help them mature in their faith. That's our goal. That's why we have to lean on God, because we can't do that ourselves. Ask questions, set goals, lean on God.